Hello, this is Jordan Hadaway. Today we are going to be talking about Kanban board basics. So, what is Kanban? Kanban is a Japanese word that translates to card or sign that you can see. I have also seen it translated into visual signal or as simply as signboard, basically a visualization with cards. It was first developed by an industrial engineer working at the Toyota factory in Japan, Taichi Ono. It was first utilized in the manufacturing field as a way to limit the number of cars being produced in excess and instead help to wait until the cars were requested by a dealer and they would produce in small batches, like 100 cars at a time. They would wait to produce more cars until requested by the dealer, and this would limit the amount of work being done, and therefore they could more easily track the amount of time it took from start to finish to produce an exact number of automobiles. One of the most essential parts of the Kanban methodology is the fact that it uses a visual board. Whether physical or in the case of some modern-day workflows, there are digital versions. A Kanban board is a visualization framework to keep track of the flow of work products through a production timeline. The main components of the board were detailed by David Anderson in his book, Kanban, Successful Evolutionary Change for Your Technology Business. For a board to be efficient, it needs to have visual signals that describe the workflow in a quick snippet of text on cards. These Kanban cards are organized throughout various columns or swim lanes that describe steps in the workflow, such as things to do, things currently being done, things being tested, or things that have been completed. Another essential component of Kanban boards, and Kanban board broadly, is that it limits work in progress items, like when they would only produce 100 cars at a time. A team utilizing the Kanban methodology would choose the number of work in progress items that make sense for the size of their team. Kanban also uses two important metrics, the commitment point and the delivery point. The commitment point is when work begins on a particular task, and the delivery point is when the task is completed. Since Kanban is a continuous workflow with items moving across the board as the team works, it is important to track start and finish times. As an example, let's take 5 seconds to pause and think about some of the tasks you would need to do if I tell you you have to clean the house this weekend. Go ahead and pause the video and think of some tasks. Okay, so some of the things you may have come up with were clean the bathrooms, clean the bedrooms, clean the kitchen. But if you're anything like me, the longer you think about it, the list grows and grows, and it might start to get overwhelming. You start to think about all the individual things in the bathroom that need to be cleaned, and maybe you remember that you don't have any bathroom cleaner, or you don't have any sponges or rags or rubber gloves, and all of a sudden you have a very large mental load. Kanban can help with this. So this is our chore workflow. This is a very simplified example, but the idea is that each Kanban card is kept uniform in length and complexity, like on a Post-it, and you can color code them to convey different types of work items. You can detail out these Kanban cards as much as you want. We've got our swim lanes of things that need to be done, things that we are currently doing, and things that have already been done. For this example, I categorized the cards as green for supply items like buying laundry detergent or wood floor cleaner, or maybe you need a new mop. Blue for any prep tasks that need to be done before actual scrubbing, so things like picking up the laundry before you can put it in the wash, and red for actual cleaning tasks. Now let's switch gears and talk about Kanban for development workflows. Typically, your Kanban cards would describe features or bug fixes or user stories, requirements that have been requested by the customer and simplified so that you can get a quick view of the information, but any team member can still grasp what is needed to be done. There are usually less specific role functions among the team for Kanban. Individual members decide what is appropriate for them, which cards to choose, and move through the workflow. There is less need for dedicated tasks to go to dedicated members in most cases. A development team or any production workflow can adapt the Kanban categorizations and the columns or swim lanes for their own purposes, but a development team might want to have a test column as well as the typical to-do, doing, and done columns. As an example, let's say you have been tasked with creating an app that allows users to find friends for their dogs in their neighborhood, and it's called Roverhood. So on our Roverhood workflow, our Kanban board, we have Kanban card categories that might be green for user interface, user experience tasks, red for the data layer, anything that pertains to the back end of our app, whether it's searches for users or connecting users, and then blue for bugs or hotfixes that come up. So we have our to-do column with things like users have started to request dark mode for the app, and they want to be able to comment on profile pictures or posts of their neighbors' dogs. Things in the works are bug fixes. Maybe there was an issue with the button that allows you to message your neighbors. Maybe it was grayed out and users could not click on it. On the back end, maybe we found some ways to optimize our code that allows for searching for neighbors in your area. And as soon as we rolled out our app specific to dog owners finding friends for their dogs, we realized that other people who don't have dogs might benefit. So we've already coded and are now testing expanding to other pets. We've added profile pictures for dogs, and we already completed user profiles as examples. So, now that you're a little more familiar with Kanban, we can think about it as an agile methodology compared to Scrum. We had mentioned before that Kanban is a continuous workflow as opposed to the fixed length sprints that exist with Scrum, where you promise a certain set of deliverables and no matter what, you keep your deliverable date. You do not push it back, but you may have to drop features to accomplish this. Additionally, as mentioned before, Kanban isn't as concerned with roles other than how it makes sense for the team to split themselves up. It's not as strict as Scrum, with the Scrum Master and Production Owner being more defined as separate from the development team. Again, Kanban cares about the cycle time, so the time between the commitment point and the delivery point. When did we start and when did we end? With Scrum, the start and end point will more or less be known as the length of the sprint. So it is more concerned with the overall speed in which the project gets done. Kanban also encourages change in the sense that visualization of workflow can help to identify shortcomings. For example, if the test column consistently has 2 or 3 times the amount of Kanban cards stuck in that swim lane of the workflow, the team may want to think about putting more resources towards those tasks. These are 2 very popular agile methodologies that can be modified in many ways. That being said, let's take 5 seconds to pause and think about what some of the key features of an emerging methodology called Scrumban might be. Go ahead and pause the video and think about it. Okay, so as you could probably guess, Scrumban combines features of the Scrum methodology and the Kanban methodology into a more flexible but potentially less structured methodology that will be important to clarify among the team. Scrumban pulls Kanban boards, Kanban cards, and work in progress limits from the Kanban methodology. And Scrumban pulls fixed length sprints, the sprint planning, and sprint retrospective meetings from the Scrum methodology. This creates a methodology that is more defined on deliverable due dates, which will make management happier than in the Kanban structure where you may not have the exact invoicing dates they want since the process is continuous. However, the adoption of this method will require teams to ensure the roles and duties continue to be clear. Scrumban does, however, take one of the best features of Kanban, the board, and allows teams to clearly visualize their workflow. Thank you. This has been Kanban Board Basics. See you next time.